After the Wends formed their immigration society in Germany in March of 1854, by May they decided to form the immigration society into a Lutheran congregation. So they organized themselves into a congregation and issued a call to Jan Kilian, to be their spiritual leader and come with them to Texas. He did accept the call. So after May, then the main business of the congregation was to dispose of what they owned in Germany that they couldn't bring with them. These were not rich people, so they didn't own a lot of land, but they did have houses and what have you. So that all had to be sold to people who were not leaving. By September, everything was ready. They were packed. They could only bring one wooden trunk of possessions per family, and they were ready to leave and come to Texas. They took their first train ride, probably, because they gathered in the city of Bautzen, and from Bautzen they got on a train and went up to the northern part of Germany to Hamburg. And that's where they were to board the ship. But when they got to Hamburg, they found out that there was not a big enough ship for them. They would have to go on two ships. That didn't sit well with the society or the leaders of the society. They wanted to all come together on one ship. So they were told that larger ships could be found on the west coast of England. So they boarded ships and crossed the English Channel. When they got there, they boarded a train and crossed England to the west side by train to Liverpool. There they found a large ship, the Ben Nevis, that could handle a little less than 600 people. That's how many were in the immigration group. And that would bring them to Texas. But while they were waiting to board the ship, they were living in quarters in Liverpool, and cholera broke out. Some of the immigrants never got on the Ben Nevis because they passed away from cholera, and they were buried in Liverpool. After they thought they had the cholera under control, they boarded the Ben Nevis and headed toward Texas. But as they were passing Ireland, cholera broke out again. And the ship captain said, well, we can't go to Texas like this. we need to stop. And they stopped or docked in Queenstown, and they were there for 3 weeks. They took everyone off of the Ben Nevis. The sick were put on a ship that was turned into a hospital ship, and the people who were still healthy were put on another ship. They were there for 3 weeks. And finally, they thought they had the cholera under control again. They tried to fumigate the Ben Nevis. Of course, they couldn't go to Walmart and buy a lot of Clorox, but they did what they could. All the bedding was burned, and the ship was scrubbed, and they thought it would be all right now. So after 3 weeks, they all got on the ship and headed for Texas again. Unfortunately, cholera broke out again. So many of them died while they were at sea, and they were buried at sea.
One afternoon, a great storm came up, which threatened to break our ship to pieces. The captain ordered the sailors to take down the sails and cross pieces, but they refused because they were afraid to go up. The captain threw away his coat and crawled up the mast. He was followed by one of the sailors who helped him take down the sails and cross pieces. When the captain came down, he was white as a sheet and had to be carried to his cabin. His heroism had saved the ship and all the lives aboard. 4 men had to work the pumps while the storm continued. We continued on our course till we could see Santo Domingo. There were still some people sick, and some died too. One night, my mother also died. The following morning, as I reached the deck, I saw several men lower a corpse slowly into the deep sea. That was my mother, which I have never forgotten. Johann Teinert, aboard the Ben Nevis, December 1854.
By December of, about the 15th of December in 1854, they had reached Galveston. And from Galveston, they went to Houston. Now, at that time, in 1854, Houston had approximately 2,500 people. And here were, all of a sudden, 500 people in December looking for a place to stay, which wasn't easy.